Welcome to Levant TV Headlines. US-led warplanes have struck jihadists attacking the Syrian town of Kobani as Washington revealed it held its first direct talks last weekend with the main Syrian Kurdish group. Iraqi security forces have launched an operation aimed at regaining ground from the Islamic State group north of the militant-held city of Tikrit. A roadside bomb has killed 2 Egyptian policemen and wounded 9 in the town of El Arish in the restive north of the Sinai Peninsula. Advancing Houthi rebels have met deadly resistance from tribesmen as well as Al-Qaeda militants, with 4 rebels and 2 tribesmen reportedly killed. And Hong Kong police has partially cleared a democracy protest site in a raid, tearing down tents and barricades hours after the city's embattled leader reopened his offer of talks to end nearly 3 weeks of disruptive demonstrations. And now let's have a look at top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting with the UAE, the Khalij Times leads reporting that as waves of jittery sell-offs on global stock markets wiped out $672 billion in 2 days and the worst turmoil in 4 years on fears of bleaker growth prospects, Dubai bourse led the tumble across the Middle East. The paper also reports an United Nations trust fund seeking $1 billion to fight Ebola in West Africa has received a deposit of just $100,000 nearly a month after it was set up to allow for rapid, flexible funding of the most urgent needs on the ground. The Egypt Independent is reporting that the criminal court has sentenced 24 Brotherhood supporters to life imprisonment and acquitted 141 others in the case known as Al-Ghanaim. The paper also reports that fierce attacks have been made by the privately owned mobile carriers against the state-owned Telecom Egypt after beginning measures to receive Egypt's 4th mobile operator license, which they believe could lead to unfair competition. And from Beirut, the Daily Star reports that a Lebanese soldier has been killed and several others wounded when a military bus carrying troops along the road in Bire in the northern Akkar province came under gunfire. The paper also reports that future MP Fouad Sanyura held talks with UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, who has been meeting with Lebanese politicians to assure them of international community support for Lebanon's stability as the country faces threats from Islamist militants. Now let's have a look at top MidEast headlines from papers here in the UK. The Guardian lists Middle East news reporting that a 13-year-old boy has been shot and killed by Israeli forces in a village near the occupied West Bank city of Ramallah. The paper says according to reports, soldiers opened fire after demonstrators threw stones and Molotov cocktails at 3 Israeli army jeeps that entered the village west of Ramallah. The Independent leads Middle East news reporting that a video message read by John Cantley, the British journalist held hostage by ISIS in Syria, has warned that the West is heading towards a 3rd Gulf War. The paper says Mr. Cantley, who was a prisoner for nearly 2 years, talked for about 7.5 minutes in what was billed as the 4th of 8 episodes of a series called Lend Me Your Ears. And the Telegraph reports that Queen Rania of Jordan has urged moderate Muslims in the Middle East to join the battle against radical Islamic groups, as she warned that extremists rely on the complacency of their enemies. Now let's have a look at top MidEast headlines in international papers. In Berlin, the Deutsche Welle leads Middle East news reporting that US defense officials announced dramatically increased US-led airstrikes have killed hundreds of Islamic State jihadists around the besieged Syrian border city of Kobani as the US-led coalition carried out nearly 40 airstrikes, hitting targets in and around the city. And the Washington Post reports that a rogue Libyan general waging a month-long campaign against Libya's Islamists launched a full-blown assault on Benghazi this week, touching off clashes with the militants dominating the city. More than a dozen people have been killed in the violence, which started Wednesday, raising fears that the battles will evolve into an all-out civil war. And for more updates, please visit us on levant.tv. Thanks for watching and have a good weekend.